Hi guys. Little change in scenery here. I'm going to still continue on with the bike, but it's mid-March here in Montana, and I'm going to need to mow grass in about another month and a half. So I've been putting this off for a long time, and I'm going to rebuild my lawn boy. What do you say? What is this? You're not building a two-stroke motorcycle? I'm still doing that. This is a two-stroke, but it's a lawnmower, so it should be very similar. And I've been into it once before. This is about a late '60, early '70 model. They call it a D-400. So I really like this mower. I bought a new cylinder and piston for it, gosh, 7-8 years ago, and I have yet to put it in. And I've been using this mower for a long time. I've been using it about 28 years, and it actually belonged to my grandmother before that. So it's had a lot of use, but it's starting to get a little tired. Somewhere along the way, I had a seal issue on the lower end where the let me show you, the seal down here where the blade would go kept knocking it out, and I finally went in there and put a bearing in. It has a bushing, and the bushing was plumb wore out. They do have an upper bearing. I don't know why Lawn Boy didn't put a lower bearing in, but I did do that a few years ago, and that's helped a lot. For as you know, two strokes just don't run if they're not sealed. So that is an improvement that I did, and now I just need to get the compression back up so it'll run good. They're not a very powerful engine to start with. I want to say they're 2.5 horse, maybe 3, but they do very good as long as you don't let the grass get too tall. So anyway, enough gibbering here. Let me get you kind of situated here where you can see what I'm doing, and you might find it interesting. I hope so. I really like two strokes. I do own a 4-stroke mower, but it's a later model John Deere riding mower that I do some of the bigger areas with. But you've just about got to have a push mower, and this thing is just wonderful. Always has been. I even painted this shroud a few years ago when I did the bearing conversion in the bottom end, and put a new decal on it. I'm going to try to get by without putting the new decal on it, but I'll probably touch it up a little bit. I really like these lawn boys. There's absolutely no safety features on them at all. These older mowers, you don't have to hold anything down while you do something else or anything else. You just use common sense and be careful. You know, that's what the bottom line is. I don't know why we got so safety conscious over the years, but we did. I think that thing comes through that hole. There it goes. Got a little fuel left in it. Not much. And these are not injection or anything. You do have to pre-mix. I just use what I use in my motorcycles. Usually use Yamalube because it doesn't smoke very much. Occasionally I do mix up a little bit of the castor bean oil just so I can push it around and it smells like old race days with Castrol R. So it's kind of cool. I made a couple of measurements before I started here. I'm going to show you what they are and why they're important. Before I get any further, I'll show you. Okay, the first measurement I want to check here is the side play of the crankshaft. Let me get you down here. This play right here. The measurement's supposed to be taken as close to the sealing surface here as you can get, and that's where I'm about set up. I've got my dial indicator set up here, and if I pull it all one way to the side and then go the other, you're seeing I've got about 5.5 or 6 thousandths. And see, this is the lower end where I cut out the bushing and replaced it with a bearing. Up to 6.5 thousandths is acceptable, so there really shouldn't be any problem with that. Now the other thing that we need to check here is the end play. Matter of fact, these bearings, when I first installed it, it was about 6 or 6.5 thousandths. So that's just the kind of play you're going to have with a bearing. They're not as, you could probably make a bushing tighter, but the bushings just don't last as long, and that's the key. And let me show you here. The end play is the in and out, and I'm setting at about 15 or 16. And it's showing 15. And that's a little excessive. I can't remember what it is right away or right offhand. I want to say it's around 10 or 12. And that's adjustable by use of a thicker gasket up here under the armature plate. So that's what I'll do. Actually, it'll be, I believe I'll have to remove a gasket or put a thinner one in to get to that dimension. When we get there, that's I'll bring that up. But again, the big thing with two strokes are the fact that they just need to be sealed very well for them to operate. This is a reed valve engine. I'm going to pull the carburetor and the reed valve together. We only have about 4 months that we mow grass in this part of the country, and most of that is just because you're watering it. By the end of June, usually we are pretty burnt up. Maybe we can make it to the 4th of July, but not very often. But we usually keep our front yard watered, and so that's what I mow with this. And we're looking down into the bowels of it already. There's our rod, and these are needle bearing. They're all single needle bearings. You have to, when you put it together, you've got to put grease in there to maintain them. It feels like it's got pretty good compression, but it's really loose. But it does run okay. But I think it'll run a lot better with the new piston and cylinder on it. These, they've never, as far as I know, never made a oversized cylinder, or I'm sorry, oversized piston. I bought a sleeve not too long ago, and I thought that I would try at some point to sleeve one of the old cylinders. I haven't got to that point yet, but I may do it because it's hard to even find pistons anymore. Nobody's even repopping them. Kind of the best way to get these off. I'm going to have to pull that. All this contraption here on top is the governor. All this goes up and down, and it's got a rod that goes down to the carburetor here that'll keep it from overspeeding. And underneath this cover is the points and condenser. Yes, it still has points. And I've got a new set, so we'll be setting them up. Of course, that's not so unusual. The Suzuki TC125 that I'm restoring is also before CDI ignition, so that was a point setup. And again, here is the point and condenser here, and this is more of the governor, and I think this also controls the spark advance. I believe that's what that is. Yeah, spark advance. I had trouble with my GoPro. I had changed the to be able to see where your view is on your phone, and I actually did some YouTube watching and found out that I could get rid of the one that they just automatically upgraded for me and reload the old version. I think only Android people can do it. I'm just kind of lost without that. It's hard to watch in the back of the camera all the time to see what's going on. Or it is for me anyway. These little wrenches. I'll tell you what, I think I'm just gonna, let's see, I can leave all this on and just pull the top plate. I believe that's what I'll do. No, I'll have to get this off. I believe that has a clip, if I remember right. Let me look at this a little bit and I'll get back with you here. And you can see here on the ignition plate that there is a needle bearing situated in there. And here's how you adjust the crankshaft end plate with thinner or thicker gaskets, which we'll have to do. As you can see, there's not much to these little guys. I'm going to wipe this off a little bit. It's all going to get cleaned up anyway. Let's see, those are, must be 3/8. Got 4 bolts that are holding the cylinder on. Okay, we got our bolts off of the cylinder. And we should just be able to pull it. Yep, there we go. Very simple machines. You can see quite a bit of blow by. You've got exhaust ports over here on the right, and you've got transfer ports right here, and nothing over here for the intake, because everything comes through the reed valves through here. So that's our cylinder. There's our piston. Looks like it's got quite a bit of carbon buildup, and I did put a piston in it probably, I don't know, probably 20 years ago. So, and it was loose then. I mean, it hadn't got any better. But I did finally get a cylinder, so that's what I'm going to do now. Now, I think what I'll do is turn this up and pull the rod out through the top. I've got to bend over a couple of tabs there. I probably should have left the cylinder on until I got the rod out. I just don't do it enough to remember. Okay, got our tabs loose. Those are really small. These are 15/16ths, or 5/16ths rather, 5/16ths. Certainly not 15/16ths. Like I said, we've got all these little loose needle bearings in here, so I've got to make sure that I've got my hand over it down here so I don't lose them, too many of them. I'm kind of at a point of no return. I wished I had grabbed a magnet. I think I've got them all. As you can see, they go right in here. There's like little inserts here that you can replace. I believe there's 31 of them. I'll have to look at the book again, but that's, and here's the insert on the upper part or lower part of the rod. We've still got some hanging in there. Let me get my magnet. think we got them all. And we'll just kind of clean this up. Gently pull the crankshaft out. Cute little guy, right? And now we're down to an empty case. And if you look down in there, I think you can see where I put the needle, the cage needle bearing. So that was all reamed out. I believe I did it all on the lathe from the other side and left the bushing intact up here at the top. So it's just in the bottom, but that maintains the crankshaft play pretty good. And it looks like it's doing okay. We'll measure up the crankshaft and see. I don't see anything wrong with it. But there it is. That's a D-400 lawn boy disassembled down to the case in about 15 minutes. So I'll do some inspection on it, and I think I've got all the parts that I'm going to need. So we'll see. We'll get everything cleaned up. We'll make sure we've got everything, and we'll press on with this new little project so I can mow my grass here in a month or a month and a half. Again, if you like the content here, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and hey, thanks for going along with the ride, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much.